Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a special video today, pretty much the beginning of something new for the channel where we're going to be discussing the next gen titles, launches, games, everything you need to know all the way up until the launch. Every day or every 2 days I'll be covering all the major news coming out from Sony and Microsoft about their new games, about stuff that's happening with the consoles, what you can expect from developers and any other little bits of relevant gaming information to help you make your decisions about next gen and what type of games and what type of experience to expect. All with my own personal opinion layered on top. Don't worry, my survival news is still here. It's still going to be the main bread and butter of the channel. But as the next generation comes up, I'm really looking forward to some of these games and I want to give you my opinion about them, show you guides, tips. And so I thought it's about time we start talking about them a little bit more. So let's crack on. So coming up today, we're going to be talking about a brand new interview with Bethesda and Phil Spencer talking about their special relationship. Has it been cleared up any more about exclusives coming to either just the Xbox or whether or not they're going to allow some of these brand new future games like Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield out on the PlayStation? Well, we're maybe not that much closer, but I still think it's the biggest hint yet that PlayStation fans, you don't have to maybe worry as much. Also going over some new game rumours and confirmations that some games are being remade, or certainly ported over at least. Metal Gear, the whole franchise, the early games 1 and 2 is coming to PC. Well, it looks like that's going to be happening with confirmation from various different age rating sites. Also the rumours about Bloodborne remastered coming to the PlayStation 5 and PC next year. And what's the situation with Spiderman and Sony? Have they really gone and just made their first big huge mistake of the next console generation? We're also going to cover the stuff going on with the memory cards for the Xbox. How expensive are they going to be? And to follow on with the Bethesda stuff, Doom Guy is making his appearance on the gamespass with Doom Eternal coming very soon. If you think Microsoft and Sony also have just got each other to worry about, well, think again. Amazon are finally stepping into the gaming sphere. They just announced their Luna service yesterday, which is going to be their attempt at game streaming service. I'm going to give you all the details on that and really whether or not this is what Microsoft are going to be fighting in the future, not Sony. Don't forget to like, make sure you subscribed, and let's go with everything you need to know about the next gen news right now. So over the last sort of 48 hours you may have come across Spider-Man. The remastered version on PlayStation 5 will not be available for free for current owners of the game on the PlayStation 4. You also won't be able to transfer any of your saves over from PS4 to the remastered version. This has caused quite a bit of controversy in the last few days. Of course, Miles Morales is going to be a PlayStation 5 launch title. And yes, it will be available on the PlayStation 4, and if you buy it on the PS4, you will own it on the PS5 as well. What you won't be able to get hold of though is the remastered version on its own. Pretty much if you want to play the new bells and whistles on the next gen, you're going to have to pay a $20 upgrade fee. Insomniac have come out batting a little bit, defending their decision, saying that it's going to be coming with ray tracing, faster loading and support for the DualSense controller's new haptic feedback. And it will be available with the more expensive Miles Morales Ultimate Edition. Confused? Yeah, it's just not that very simple, is it? And it doesn't sound very consumer friendly. I've seen a lot of people online getting really upset about the fact that it seems Sony are nickel and diming people just for an upgrade for a game that's only 2 years old. Overall, it's a pretty complicated affair and it's been made a whole lot more messier by the messaging, and it does raise questions about future upgrades. Sony have said that Spider-Man will be backwards compatible. You don't have to necessarily buy the remastered edition if you want to play Spider-Man on the next gen. But it won't have all of them things that we just mentioned, like the ray tracing. Even if you bought the Spider-Man 4 edition that had all the extra DLC, you're still not going to get an upgrade to the remastered version on the PlayStation 5. And that's another crucial factor. That's what the PS5 version does also include, is all the released DLC. Overall, it's just been made a bit more complicated, and it just shows the different ethos between the two companies at the moment. With Xbox promising their smart delivery, you'll get to play the best version of the game no matter what platform you're on, or what console you're on I should say, compared to Sony's seemingly going down the route they've always done. You think back to how many times they had PS2 classics on sale on the PS3, and how they did exactly the same thing with PS3 classics available on the PS4. Slight tangent, I know, but it's kind of bugged me for a while. And that's been confirmed by Jim Ryan from Sony that PlayStation 5 will not have backwards compatibility with PS3 or PS2. Now what I'm actually hoping is they just haven't cleared up the fact that if you bought any of them classics on the PS4, then that will transfer over. As they've said, the vast majority of PS4 games will be playable on the PS5. But this kind of thing here with the Spider-Man stuff, it doesn't really add weight to that. It seems like they're going to go down that route of making people pay for more upgrades just to experience the next gen. As I said, Insomniac have come out batting a little bit, trying to defend it in the last 14-16 hours. They've gone over a few blogs and they've replied a few times to Twitter. There's already been some talk that Miles Morales is simply a bloated DLC. It's not going to be a full game. And so the question is whether or not this really should be happening. Remember, Spider-Man was one of the fastest selling PlayStation 4 owned titles ever. They have made absolute millions in the last few years off the back of this title alone. And with Sony actually owning the IP for Spider-Man, do they really need to go ham in charging players even more money to upgrade to what is essentially, in my opinion, not very much of an upgrade? The blog post from PlayStation has said the remaster for PS5 is no simple up-res, as many of the game's art assets have been completely updated to take advantage of the PS5 console's horsepower. You'll see better looking characters with improved skin, eyes, hair and facial animation, including our new next generation Peter Parker. You'll see ray trace reflections and ambient shadows, improved lighting, more pedestrians and vehicles stretching further into the distance, and the same optimal performance mode offered on Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, allowing you to finally play the game at a targeted 60 FPS frame rate. We'll be supporting near instant loading, 3D audio and the DualSense controller's haptic feedback. Lastly, we're adding 3 new amazing Spider-Man suits, new photo mode features and even new trophies to those looking to platinum the game all over again. In more tweets, Insomniac said they had to go back and redo much of the city environment assets to take advantage of PS5, as well as updated many character models details as well. But either way, this just ain't it, Chief. One of the best selling games on your platform. Your biggest competitor, Xbox, is absolutely mocking you with its latest gifts and adverts, showing you how you can actually play whatever game it is in the best possible way on whatever console you own. Buy the game once, play it on the system of your choice in the best possible way. If this had been a remaster because the game was like 4 or 5 years old, as reported in my next story about Bloodborne, then I can maybe just about understand it. If we were jumping from generations from PS3 to PS4 where the difference really was stark, again I could maybe understand the remastered and the costs. But a game that's only just over 2 years old, with part of it already being offered still on the PS4 and the PS5 in Miles Morales, it just doesn't make sense. It shows Sony's greed in my opinion. Let me know if it's a deal breaker for you. Will you be bothering with the remastered version? And is it right that the next gen is going to be charging us more money just to see the same features that other competitors are offering for free? Push Square, not exactly an official channel, but definitely one of the more respected PlayStation news sites, has the rumour that Bloodborne Remaster is real and it's going to be coming to the PlayStation 5 and PC. This comes originally from Red Gaming Tech on YouTube. Apparently he's very good, got a track record with these types of leaks. And this comes hot on the heels after the Metal Gear Solid remake claims, which actually looks like it's very true. Or for now, at least some port jobs to PC. Metal Gear is coming out today apparently. I've tried to find it on the Steam store this morning, but nothing's come up just yet. But this is the direct original game, 1987. Now this actually first appeared on the Taiwanese game rating site, and now it's appeared on a UK one, so it's definitely happening guys. We're going to be seeing the original Metal Gear Solid games on PC. Does look like it's going to be some Konami Collector's Series, Castlevania and Contra as well coming to the PC platforms. So anywho, back to the original part of course is that Bloodborne Remaster is real and it's going to be coming to the PlayStation 5 and the PC, and it's also quite far along in development. It wouldn't really make sense to release it at the same time as Demon's Souls obviously remake. I can see it definitely bolstering the PlayStation 5 lineup in its first year. It's supposedly going to have a bunch of additional content. There was apparently a lot of stuff they cut from the original game. But yeah, it does sound promising. If you're ready to keep on in the world of these Demon's Souls and Dark Souls games for 2021, it does look like Sony's going to have your back. And you will now be able to experience a lot of these on PC as well. This I can just about understand. The game is 5 years old at this point, and it did run a little bit like arse in certain sections. So maybe a worthy remaster rather than what's happening with Spider-Man. It does bring the whole conversation about what to expect from Sony in 2021. Are we going to see The Last of Us 2 remastered? Is this the way forward? You will be able to play your PS4 versions. It'll have some small improvements. You won't be getting the big massive bells and whistles unless you pony up $20 every time. Not gonna lie, I've used bells and whistles about 4 times. I have no idea where that saying comes from.
Square from Bethesda Game Studios.
So there was a big interview very recently with Larry Herb, Phil Spencer, Todd Howard and Pete Hines discussing and talking about the Bethesda going over to Microsoft.
But tell us a little bit about the thought behind about what we announced yesterday.
There was quite a few questions asked, but they were kind of a bit wishy-washy. And there was no definitive solid answers about what to expect with exclusives. Although for sure there are some commentators out there absolutely putting false words into Phil Spencer's mouth, suggesting that he's saying that there will be exclusives only for Xbox from the Bethesda stable. He does not say that anywhere, shape or form in this video. What he does say is talking about making the Xbox system unique. But also he does reference again alongside Todd Howard how important it is to get players being able to play all of their games. To me this really does suggest, and it's the biggest sign going in my opinion, that Xbox are not going to be locking off Bethesda games wholesale in the future. We already know that Deathloop and Ghostwire have limited availability on the PlayStation 5 as exclusives for a while, and that ESO will continue to be available on the PlayStation 4. And it does seem like in the future maybe Xbox will have some time limits with it, but certainly it does look like more and more of the biggest games coming in the next 4 or 5 years, like The Elder Scrolls 6, like Starfield, they will be appearing on the PlayStation. I can't see how they would offer up the chance to miss out on all that money. People want to talk about the war between Microsoft and Sony. Well, as Microsoft and Phil has been keen to point out, Sony isn't their biggest rival anymore. It's these guys. Amazon have just unveiled their gaming service, their attempt at getting you to go ahead and sign up to their subscription and stream and play whatever games you would like. The service is going to be $6 a month with 100 plus games, and you'll be able to play it on your Fire TV, your PC, your Mac, iPhone, iPad and Android. It's going to work a bit differently though. It's definitely a much better proposition than the Stadia systems. You'll sign up to the Luna Plus channel, which will offer that 100 original games, and then there'll be other publishers offering their own channels, which you'll have to then spend more money on to get access to them games. So far, as announced, it has pretty much only been Ubisoft. No pricing yet on how much that will be, but you will be able to play all the latest Assassin's Creed, Valhalla, Far Cry 6 and Immortals Phoenix Rising on release day, which will be a big one up again on Stadia. So that pretty much ties in exactly with the Ubisoft one they've already got running at the moment, the Ubisoft subscription, which is still only available on PC. The Amazon post says this is the first part of multiple Luna game channels in development where customers can play games from their favourite publishers and genres. They're also speaking about the fact that you'll be able to integrate and watch Twitch really easily using it as well. Or you can even start playing games instantly when you see them on Twitch as well. It comes with its own controller, with lots of comparisons being made to the Nintendo Switch Pro. Bit of a reach, yeah, the handles maybe. Controllers pretty much all look the same unless you are Xbox and PlayStation. I would say this is definitely a bit more of a rip on an Xbox controller than a Pro. The controller is going to be $50 during early access, and there will be an early access period for the Luna service. You can't go ahead and buy it yet, but you can sign up. This is the testing phase. You can go ahead and give it a whirl right now. Now them 100 games sound pretty good, except you may want to dive into exactly what's on offer. There are some big hitters like Metro, Control and the latest and last Resident Evil. But take them away and obviously the paid extra Assassin's Creed or the Ubisoft titles, and what you're left with is a bunch of games that are pretty old. Some are quite modern classics, but a lot of them I've seen on the Humble Bundle, or they've been included with Xbox Gold or the PS Plus at times. For sure, the future will be streaming eventually, but until we start helping out them chicken farmers with their absolute 2G connections, I don't think the world is quite ready just yet for this. We've seen how bad the Stadia launched and how bad a proposition that has been. And while this is an improvement, no having to pay extra fees, no confusing extra tiers, just one payment and then deciding whether or not you want an extra channel, I think that's pretty clear and easy. I still think this is still not going to be necessarily replacing consoles anytime soon. But this is exactly what Microsoft view as their competition rather than just Sony. Hence why the Games Pass is becoming so important to Microsoft. I would have assumed they would have bundled this in the package with Amazon Prime eventually, but it does look like they're trying to sell it a little bit separate for now. The big one plus will absolutely be how much the Ubisoft little add-on is going to be. If it's a reasonable price, a few quid, £4 or £5, it will be a pretty worthwhile time to get it, at launch if this does happen in the next few weeks. Being able to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion, at least for 1 month for a cheap price, is pretty good. But having to use the controller and buy it, obviously that's still another $50 you're going to be spending. A few more caveats are as well, both of their services, the channels are promising 1080p, 60fps and 4K coming soon. You'll be able to play Ultimate Editions of a lot of the Ubisoft games with DLC for select titles, but you'll only be able to stream it on one device at a time, whereas the Luna Plus channel you'll be able to stream on 2 devices. This is the future, and this is the battleground that Microsoft really are getting prepped for, not just a little dilly-dalliance with Spiderman and Sony. Now, before I start getting accused of being too much of an Xbox stan, well, they've not exactly been shining too brightly in the last 24 hours either, as news broke of how much it's going to cost to get an SSD memory card. If you want to expand your Series X or S memory, you're going to be able to buy a 1TB expandable storage, but it's going to be $220 to purchase, and you'll be forced to use this type, as they're not opening it up to other suppliers just yet, although that looks like something on the cards maybe next year. For now, Seagate have the monopoly on it, so you will have to pay this price for it. And you've probably seen a few videos now already showing that you simply just plug it into the back of your Xbox. The plus points of this are, it's going to match exactly the internal storage. So you'll get all the benefits of faster loading, all the gameplay improvements, benefits as well. There'll be no difference. But it is starting to make the Xbox Series S maybe not look as attractive as it once did for its price. Sure, you can use older HD drives if you want to, and they'll store happily your Xbox 360 or your Xbox normal games or your Xbox One games. You'll be able to play and run them as long as they're connected via USB. But if you want the series improvements, then you will have to actually load it onto one of these supported SSDs or the memory that's inside the console. The Series S only has 512GB of storage, so when you add in the whole cost, it's going to be $520 for that additional storage, and it will bring it up, of course, to 1.5TB overall. There are some other little points to remember though. They're promising that because they're using this specially built architecture, the SSD games are going to be about 30% smaller than they would previously. And if you're running just a whole collection of your Xbox One or your Xbox 360 games, well, they'll be smaller too, particularly on the S, as they won't actually have to load up all the 4K assets. And as I said, you can use any old USB stick or drive, you just won't get the benefits from it if you're playing on the X or the S like you would if you was using one of these. But it does kind of give me bad juju vibes from back in the day when the Xbox 360 launched with its arcade edition, which is pretty much useless, only offering something stupid like 10GB or 12GB. I might not even add that. It's been that long, maybe it only had 1GB. I can't remember. Let me know in the comment section if you're as old as shit as me. And for games like Call of Duty being over 200GB for an update or install, you'll fill it up quickly. Now Sony have got similar issues with their memories, but they're not offering it to just one supplier, so there's going to be a lot more competition, so you expect the prices to be a lot cheaper. Although it has to be said, this kind of technology isn't cheap even for PC players. It is about that same price for most of them. Now these brand new cards will have to meet the same requirements of the internal SSD, and so they're still not going to be that much cheaper, but nevertheless it's still good that Sony are offering the chance for competition, even if they currently are around the same price. And to finish off with a feel-good story for Games Pass owners, yes, the Bethesda invasion is beginning with Doom Eternal. This was announced that Doom Eternal is going to be on the Xbox Games Pass for PC and the Xbox on October the 1st. The sequel to the 2016 title was received pretty well by critics, but it didn't exactly set the world alight like the original did, so it seems like everyone's going to get a chance to see what the game's really like when it launches into the Games Pass on October. So there we go, that's the first episode of Next Gen News. Let me know what you think about any of that, guys. Are you okay with the Spider-Man remaster? Is it okay for a developer to obviously get some money for extra work they've done? Or should we be thinking more along the lines of Microsoft, who have claimed that a lot of the updates they're going to be doing, they'll do it themselves for the developers, or it won't take much work on developers' part themselves? What do you think about Doom coming to Games Pass, and will you be trying out Luna when it properly launches? I'll keep you guys informed as always with all the best news first. My name's Jade, I'll see you lot later.